Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to GameStar TV, and it is round number 4, possibly the final round of the night, as we bring you. It's going to be Team DC versus Onyx Esports, and we're just getting ourselves organized. We had a little bit of confusion with the bracket because we called for those teams to be the ones that were coming on, and next thing we knew, somebody had entered a score for them already. So we thought, well, hang on, what on earth is going on there? So we are going to be bringing you that in just a moment as we get the teams into the lobby. And there you go, get the cameras going. And once again, I've got we'll be right back on the front there. So Kitbox, this is round number 4. We wanted to give Onyx Esports a bit of love earlier on against Mad Because Bad. They're here tonight in this final round. And there's the potential for a fifth match. So hope you're ready for it, mate.
Oh, mate, I was born ready. I'm so ready for this. Team DC versus Onyx Esports, though. Maybe there'll be a 5th round, maybe there'll be not. But like you mentioned, we were supposed to give Onyx a little bit of love to start things off. But Mad Because Bad, they were out at Buddings, getting a snag, and they were late to the game. So unfortunately, they were not able to play, and they missed out on their airtime. So unfortunate for them. But Onyx, we're still giving them some love. Both members of Grumpshot's Onyx Guild. Both teams are still up-and-comers. But last week, Onyx Esports played fantastically, getting themselves into that tiebreaker round and almost qualifying. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be, but we're going to get into this one on Cursed Hollow. So joining me once again for the second time tonight, good evening, GL Phoenix.
Good evening, Kit. It's always good to be here, and really looking forward to this one because both of these teams, they're reasonably evenly matched, looking at some of their past results, and this is looking like it's going to be a very interesting match to watch.
Cursed Hollow, one of those games where it's all about controlling those points. You need to take down those altars, control the bell towers, and sorry, I'm getting mixed up with
we said bell towers. It isn't Towers of Doom, but
oh my god, very similar, very gloomy.
It's been a long night, hasn't it?
Oh man, it's been a long week. It's the dark overcast of the map, which is throwing me. No excuses. Dahaka being taken off the board. What is this? Murky being hovered by Team DC as a band? Surely they're playing us here.
That's a little bit more what we're kind of expecting. So Dahaka taken off the board, very big map pressure, and on a map like Cursed Hollow, very big map, and allows for that very global style of play. Can get so much value, and on the other side, that Garrosh, I wouldn't be surprised to see that ban go through, as we've been seeing throughout the day, or throughout the past couple of weeks, well, that he's been legal for competitive play. He gets a lot of work done. Sure, he doesn't have that incredibly dominant win rate, but he's always something that you have to be wary about when you're going up against it.
Garrosh being taken off the board, we saw the potential of what he could do in the last map between LimeWire and Rolls Unspecified. You wish pulling off some fantastic combos, and I think Team DC might have been watching that. Either that, or they know that Onyx have a strong Garrosh player in their team, and they just really don't want to deal with him. But Onyx, one thing we know about them is that their gameplay, actually two things. We know that their gameplay is improving and that their drafting is actually A1.
Yeah, throughout the past couple of seasons, we've always seen them be very competent in the draft. They know how to play around it. They draft very competently. But as you said, it's just over time, it's just a matter of their gameplay trying to catch up to what we're kind of expecting from these drafts. And already right off the bat, that Uther, sure, he's taken a bit of a hit over the most recent patches, but he's still seeing quite a lot of priority.
Number 1 support ANZ, I believe, at the moment is Uther. Solid pick rate, solid win rate. I suppose it does come down to who is playing him, but nonetheless, he's a great utility to have in your team, especially when you combine him with somebody like the Tassadar, which is still a completely viable option. But Greymane, for the first time tonight, being locked in on the side of Team DC, and also a Nubarak. It was good to see after the first 2 rounds, we didn't see any more Zagara. It was 0 and 2 in terms of picks, so that has been done away with. And, well, for now, TM.
Yeah, it's the potential to come in later on in this draft. I mean, it is one of those maps where you want to play that global game, and Zagara can do such a thing, but we'll have to wait and see if either team wants to go towards that. But yeah, the Greymane, very strong, very versatile in a draft, and more often than not, appears at the higher end of a draft due to his flexibility, more so than at the end where you already have something more honed in for what you're wanting. And the Nubarak, sure, he can cop some nerfs, but with the amount of utility in his kit, he's going to be strong for quite some time.
Let's see what the Onyx Esports lads lock in to complement that Uther. They still need a lot of their roles, still a lot on the board. We've only had the Dahaka band as well as the Garrosh. They could even pick a global of their own, maybe the Falstad. Let's see what they go. They're eating down the timer. They're going to go for the leaving, so good poke, and now even better poke with Lunara as well.
And also, the leaming into the Nubarak, it's been a combo that kind of fell by the way, or not a combo, but a soft counter that kind of fell by the wayside, just leaming not really fitting into the meta. But once we get to level 10, it just becomes the game of Cocoon versus Disintegrate, and Disintegrate just demolishes that web wrap in like a second flat. So that is, when we get to level 10, we could even potentially see maybe the Locust Swarm to not bother about that problem in the first place. But already a lot of damage coming out from the Onyx Esports lineup. But once we get into the second half of the draft, we're going to have to see them really shore up that front line.
So now they're hovering the Diablo team DC. They really want to take away the front line off of Onyx Esports here. They realize that they still do need the solid tanks. Arthas now potential. I mean, Onyx, they might even be forced into a choke pick here. I mean, the counter pick on Ming after seeing a Nubarak come in was fantastic. Like you mentioned, Disintegrate, shreds the Cocoon. And if you can choke the opposing team into a talent pick, into the Locust Swarm, say, that's half the game won. You're already inside their heads. You're already playing with them. Now Arthas is going to be off.
Yeah, and that's one of the big tools that can almost deal with that Greymane. Sure, he wants to be jumping in, but if you are jumping in and there's an Arthas there, you're not going to have a very fun time. It's same thing with the Illidan or any kind of melee assassin who's very much reliant on auto-attacking. If that Arthas gets in your way, you're not going to have a very enjoyable these fights.
I mean, they do have Greymane as well, so, I mean, Cursed Bullet also an option, but the Onyx Esports lads still without a front line at all. I mean, Uther, yes, he wears armor, yes, he has 10 passive, I think it might be 15 now, might have got a buff.
15, yeah.
Yeah, he got a buff.
It went up to 25 and was recently nerfed back to 15.
It's not a Roadhog style nerf, but it's a nerf nonetheless.
He's still living. Yeah,
he's still living. Rip Roadhog. Now Genji being taken off the board here, so they don't want to deal with that deep penetration because they do have the Li Ming, they do have the Lunara, both susceptible to the dive comp.
Yeah, and that Genji can be very mobile around the map. So, and with all the choke points and all the weird avenues that you can get around the tribute points, that Genji can be so maneuverable around those areas and can be quite awkward to deal with, especially when he gets onto that backline. As you said, the Li Ming and Lunara, they can be very squishy and can fall prey to something like a Genji fairly easily.
Double pick now on the side of Team DC. They're thinking because they know Onyx Esports have a very solid draft phase. You can see it with the counter pick. Now they're going to go for Rhaegar and Jaina. Now we don't see Jaina a lot, and I think we'll see Jaina even less when we have Jaina 2.0, aka Kel'Thuzad, come into the meta. So this is going to be interesting. This might be a last hurrah, a final farewell.
Yeah, I mean, sure, she's getting a bit of a rework at the same time that Kel'Thuzad is coming out, but we don't, as you said, we don't really see her too much. She turns up when we have those big wombo combos that we saw last week with the paired up with the Zeratul, where we get those massive Void Prison into Ring of Frost combos and that just demolish a team right off the face of the planet. But she can still be a very powerful in and around these choke points where you get, if you start walking towards her and she just drops down that blizzard into a very congested choke point, she can just do so much damage, and it can be quite hard to deal with. And all those excessive amounts of slows, the Lunara, who is so very reliant on her movement speed, if she starts to get slowed down time and time again, you're not real happy about seeing that one picked up. But this is actually, I do think that this is a lineup that can very much understand what they need to be doing with this composition. So yeah, it hasn't had the best of results so far this evening, but I believe the map and the team are in a much better position to play around that playstyle.
I'm glad the camera wasn't on because I just face palmed so hard. But hey, Cursed Hollow is one of those maps where you can actually get. There's a lot of cheeky spots where you can land the Nidus Worms. So with the tribute spawning all over the place, if you can get a good scatter, a good, nice, even spread, you can pretty much delay and even potentially cap any one of those tributes as you see fit.
Yeah, she also has a pretty decent. She has pretty decent tools in delaying any kind of capture. If you just throw out a Baneling once or twice here and there, they can be really obnoxious to deal with, and she can do it from such a range that it's very hard to actually deal with unless you have like so many people just standing in the way. But that Sonya is going to be that last pickup, and in the 1v1, I believe it will be Zagara up against Sonya, but that can be a bit of a rough one. Sure, if Zagara is caught out and the Sonya gets the jump on her, she can really apply the pressure, but it can be a bit of a rough one. Zagara controls lanes very well when it remains a 1v1, but when you start getting 2 or 3 people there, that's when she can really start to struggle.
Stitches just needs to avoid either hooking Sonya or Anubarak. Any of the other 3, they're a good target. You hook Sonya into your team, you're pretty much signing their death warrant right there. But we're going to get into this one, ladies and gentlemen. Potentially, and I underline potentially, the final game of the night. We could have a 5th and final on Braxis, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. It's going to be DC on Team Blue. Bob Goat playing Anubarak, Nihao playing Sonya, Suze on Greymane, Space Phoenix on Jaina, and Gwyd on the Rhaegar.
Yeah, and on the red side, it is Onyx Esports. We have Grumpshot, the man, the myth, the legend himself on the Lei Ming, the Fish on Lunara, Happy Chap on Zagara, AC the man on Stitches, and Blood Spiller on Uther. And one thing I do want to note is that over the past couple of seasons, Space Phoenix has picked up that Jaina more than a few times and has shown a decent amount of proficiency on that hero. So very much a comfort pick for that team.
Good luck, have fun comes out from the Fish on the Lunara. Good to see sportsmanship in esports and just sports in general. Yes, I'm counting esports as actual sports because it's 2017. Get with it.
Yeah, it's always good to see that nice, friendly. Yeah, we're okay with a little bit of banter here and there, but it's all in good fun. Hopefully, it's all in just good fun in the end, right?
Oh, totally. Let's roll with that one. We're all about positivity here. This is a safe space on GameStar TV. And we're going to be rolling into this one. Team DC versus Onyx Esports. Game number 4 of the final week of qualifiers for the HGC, for the ANZ region. The punch-on in the middle is going to start. You can see them just duking it out here. Happy Chap throwing out those Banelings, has taken Volatile Acid. So getting the extra range on those Banelings, like you were talking about, GL Phoenix, the ability to stall a tribute at ridiculous range.
Yeah, it could be very, very obnoxious to deal with, especially if a team is very much reliant on capping those points while the rest of the team is elsewhere. But nice hook down onto Soze as he takes a bit of damage, but this is going to be trading back and forth for the early levels.
Took a bit of damage into the Hammer of Justice as well. The Fish was there on Lunara, but at level 1, Lunara doesn't really come into her own until a little bit later on. The poison is ridiculous. LimeWire tried to pull it off, comboing with Malthael, just trying to get those dots ticking in the previous game. Didn't really pay off for them, but let's see what the Lunara has gone for. Going for the Cruel Spores. So going for the wave clear as opposed to the direct damage here.
Yeah, we usually see the Vision talent taking at level 1, but actually at the top side, Happy Chap is going to get caught out as Zagara does manage to get back, but that's what I was saying. The Zagara in the 1v1 will force back this Sonya, but once you start moving more members up there, that's when she starts to struggle. She took so much damage, forced away, but now the members have left, she's able to keep on applying the pressure.
Gwyd in the mid lane took a bit of damage there from the Fish, Blood Spiller, and Actaman. Needs to land one of those massive meaty hooks and see if he can capitalize with the team. Not completely there yet. We've got a good split going. Even Soaks, even Stevens across the map. Happy Chap is absolutely dominating Nihao on the Sonya here at the moment with that Zagara play. Needs to get those creep tumors down. Zagara gets nice little buffs when she's walking all over the creep. You can see one down in the mid lane. Meanwhile, on the bot lane, Grumpshot is trading fairly evenly with Suze between Lei Ming and the Greymane. Now, the tower was left uncapped by the Onyx Esports lads, and already to the dot, GL Phoenix, as soon as the camp spawn, they're going to go straight and cap the siege on their bottom.
Yeah, and that's one thing you were mentioning. As we're getting into this is a team that is very much students of the game and very much on top of the theory of the game. They understand timings, they understand compositions and drafting very well. it's just a matter of getting that gameplay to catch up, and we're starting to see that over the course of the season. And that's one thing that is quite underrated, is just pure knowledge of the game.
Now, first tribute is going to be spawning at 2.5 minutes. It's up in the top lane. The rotations come out first from Onyx Esports. Zagara's there at Happy Chap just to zone out the opposition. Bobgo gets the Impale off onto Lunara through 3 members of Onyx Esports there, just tickling them in the end. And like that, Team DC make the right call. They give it up because Greymane did not rotate in the bot lane. He's forced to deal with those Siege Giants as that Onyx Esports capped. That's good timing there from Onyx. I like the way that they're playing this one.
Yeah, they're in a pretty good position. Sure, because the Greymane was on the bottom side, they were able to get a little bit of an experienced lead. But they're still, on the side of Onyx, they are at least controlling some of these lanes. And once we get later into this game, this global pressure that potentially comes out of the Zagara could very well be a defining factor in this game.
So Team DC are actually getting to work now on removing all the creep tumors around the map. They just took down 3, which was placed down by Happy Chat there. That's smart play. They've got the AoEs to do it. They've got the Jaina and they've got the Anubarak as well, utilizing their potential, playing to their team's strength. You can take away that little buff from Zagara, the movement speed and whatever else she gets. It can really, really turn the tide of the fight. But level 6 apiece, second tribute now spawning. Zoning coming into play from the Onyx Esports lads. They're going to walk over Lunara's Wisp, so they're going to reveal their position here. The Li Ming now coming in, throws out the Arcane Orb as well as the missiles. Blood Spiller is going to get to work and having that tribute. There's a lot of damage. Space Phoenix is in trouble. Oh, the Impale, just in the nick of time for Blood Spiller to cap into the burrow charge, but now he has no escape. He's gone for the speed of talent. He now needs to get away. Jaina with no mobility. Yara didn't go for Envenom Spines, so she's going to be able to get away, but the hook lands from Actaman, gets Suze, but he's in trouble now because Bobgoat's there. The fish is dealing damage. Greymane falls, as does Stitched, so they trade up 1 apiece. Meanwhile, Grumshot gets tribute number 2 for Onyx Esports.
Yeah, very even trading when it comes to the fighting, but in the end, it is going to be the tribute going over to the side of Onyx Esports, and you're talking about the Envenom Blades coming out of Zagara. She has taken Medusa Blades, which makes her auto attacks deal. It's essentially doing more damage to more things, or less damage to more things, but that's essentially what we saw in that fight. She was getting a lot of damage by auto attacking, which was spreading the damage, and also all of the minions that she creates, the Hylists, the Roaches, and just throwing out those Banelings can get really obnoxious to deal with in these very extended engages. And in the end, it was just not enough healing coming out of the Rhaegar, and they just weren't able to deal with it in the end.
Team DC can breathe a small sigh of relief because the tribute has actually spawned on their half of the map change. It's going to go over to the left-hand side, just above the Team DC boss. And I think Onyx are comfortable to give this one up. They took the siege camps in the night camp. Now they're going to get that one rolling down mid. They're going to run it down mid, gents. Ladies and gents. And Bobgo is still duking it out there with Drumshot in the bottom lane. So smart play from Onyx Esports. There's still a tribute ahead. They're going for map control at this point in time. Happy Chap doing a good job up there in the top lane. Nihao is just DC'd, unfortunately. I was wondering why she was just standing there, taking Banelings to the face. It is because of net problems, which has been a recurring theme tonight, Phoenix.
Yeah, it's pretty much been a recurring theme of this region, to be honest. But
yeah.
It's just one of the things we have to deal with. We should be able to get back into the game rather soon. It's a standard 3-2-3. We will get back into it as soon.
They're asking
as
for a
possible.
countdown as well. So good sportsmanship coming out from the Onyx Esports lads. Just asking, hey lads, that's the rules. We'd like to enforce them. That's fine. It'd be great if you could abide by that. And being guildmates, I don't see why they wouldn't do that. I mean, Grumshot, the man with the power, he would just go, hey, come on, boys. He's taught them not only how to play the game, not only how to draft, but how to be gentlemen in the game as well, which is probably the most important.
I'd say winning is pretty good, but yeah. Being very respectful competitors is very much important, and very much liking both of these teams as they've developed over the course of the couple of seasons that we've seen them. And as we saw earlier in the season, we saw Onyx make it very close to that playoff spot. I believe they did fill in due to one of the teams not being able to make it. So they've got a lot of experience under their belt. It's just a matter of translating that into results as we go on.
So we're just waiting for the reconnects to come in from Sonya. So let's just have a quick look at the talents. Greymane obviously going for that cocktail build, the tried, tested bread and butter of the Greymanes that we see in this region, and often across the regions as well. I mean, some go for the attack speed build, not the case. Meanwhile, the Nubarak, he's going to go up for the... I like how he's gone for the subterranean shield as well. We saw him burrow in, using his burrows as an engage rather than a disengage, giving himself that spell armor just to nullify the damage that comes from the Leeming, from the Zagara, and anything else that's coming his way as well.
And he's going to pretty much need as much shields as possible because the amount of damage coming out from the side of Onyx Esports, that can really stack up. Sure, we've got a lot of upfront damage with that Leeming, and to be honest, even the Zagara can do a surprising amount of damage, but as we get later and later into this game, that Lunara is going to scale so hard, and that poison is going to be really obnoxious to deal with, and they're going to need as much help on their side for Team DC with shields and healing as much as possible to try and stick around in these fights.
I'm still, yes, it cost them a kill, the Envenom Spans on Zagara, but in the team fights, if Zagara is going to be joining them, perhaps Medusa Blades is the way to go. It's currently 1 apiece, so we can't really tell if the talents are paying off at this point. Actaman has had some pretty decent hooks. The teams have been able to jump on and capitalize and collapse on them, but the heals have been even better. The supports often go under the radar a little bit, Geo Phoenix, but this week especially, they have been very, very efficient.
Yeah, we're always very... we try to give as much love to the supports when we can, and we can wane from time to time. Sometimes we give it a little bit too much credit. Sometimes we don't give them enough, but we are back into the game as we see on the top side, Happy Chap taking a lot of damage from that Zagara, and Ninhao he's back into the game. He wants to just punch on immediately.
So Sonya opting for the, like we mentioned, the creep clearing combos at the moment, going for those spins. Jaina was doing work before as well, as was Bobgoat on the Nubarak. Now, this could be tribute time. This could be curse time, rather, for the Onyx Esports lads. It spawned up where the Onyx had a very solid choke point control last time. It's there again for the second time out of 3. Let's see if this one pays off or the Actaman now comes in. But here come Team DC. There. Yeah, Actaman taking... he got a good hook, but there's a good ring of frost. It's collective 3. That's big play coming out there from Jaina. Huge stuff. Actaman is zoned out here. He's gone down. And this is where Team DC can shine. They need to take this one away from Onyx Esports. Happy Chap running away, but he's run out of creep. He does get away in the end there, so well done. Grumshot now coming up. Fantastic work there from Team DC. Getting the kill onto the front line of Stitches. There's so many squishies on Onyx Esports. If you can manage to take him down, you've got Greymane as well, who's actually gone for go for the throat, as opposed to Curse Bullet. Regardless, it could still work, and it did in that occasion. If they can take down that front line, you open up all those squishies to potentially massive amounts of damage.
Yeah, and a really great setup coming out from Space Phoenix on that Ring of Frost. As soon as that whole team, that whole choke point is locked down, there wasn't really much that Onyx could do, especially when that Cocoon also came out onto that Uther. Once the Uther is out of that fight, and they didn't have the official way of dealing with that heroic nearby, they just weren't able to help out that Stitches, and he, as you mentioned, went down so quickly, and there was really... it was just pretty much the signal to Onyx Esports to just retreat. There's nothing left. But now we're coming into the next tribute, and it is curse point on both sides, and this is forcing all members of both sides to the bottom side of the map.
Interesting to note, Geo Phoenix, even with the Nubarak on the other team, Grumshot has actually gone for Wave of Force as opposed to Disintegrate here. So Cocoon has been locked in by Team DC, so it'll be interesting to see if that one pays off for them. Thornwood Vine being thrown out from the fish, but in comes Bobgoat taking so much damage, forces the burrow charge away. Great ancestral healing coming out there from Gwyd on the Rhaegar. Actaman is going to get caught in another Ring of Frost, as is Lunara. Divine Shield comes out, gets the invulnerability, but is going to go down as the Cocoon lands on Uther. They finally managed to burst him out of that, but Happy Chap, Zagara is so mana hungry and she's got none left at all. Wolf coming in now from the Rhaegar, tries to get Happy Chap, but the heals are so good coming out from Bloodspiller on the Uther. Ninhao is disconnected at possibly the worst time, gets back in, Leeming cuts the dust, and they've got the tribute, have Team DC, they've flipped that one back around. That was a clean sweep, a reverse sweep of tributes, GL Phoenix.
Yeah, and I'm starting to really question the choice of that Force of Will. As you were saying, it was picked up. They essentially got heroics around the same time, and like Cocoon is being locked in. It's not really a surprise that that one's going to get picked up by the Nubarak, and we saw it right there, how much value that Cocoon got in that fight. Yes, the Divine Shield went out onto the Lunara, but pretty much as soon as that went down, that Uther was Cocoon and was a non-factor for the rest of the fight, and they really could have used that additional healing, that additional armor in the fights. And I feel as though if the Disintegrate came out from that lane, just shred down the Cocoon, they could have at least had a little bit more time with the Uther around to maybe save some of these low health members on the side of Onyx.
Well, as Onyx Esports are forced to deal with the curse, Team DC are making the call. They're going to go for the boss, and it's going to pay off for them. Because Onyx, like you mentioned, they've got a curse all up in their face. They've got Nidus networks in decent positions in the top lane, and almost in the mid lane, they're going to get a Knight camp just to answer things back. But now they are still on curse point as well. So one more tribute, and it'll be flipped in their favor. The first curse isn't too bad. The second curse is even worse. The snowball effect comes in. Now they're opting for the boss of their own. Meanwhile, Team DC have got a boss marching in the bot lane. Act the man, creating the zone effect for his team. They're gonna call it off. Geofink, good call in the end there. That could definitely have cost them. Rhaegar wasn't around, but Onyx Esports didn't know that. Now they're still trying to zone them out. Team DC, that's Bobgoat there on the Anubarak. All up in the face of Lunara, all up in the face of Stitches. Oh, the hook! Narrowly missing Nihao on the Sonya there, but that boss has had its HP reset. Meanwhile, Zagara's the only one dealing with it down there in the bot lane, throwing out those Banelings, Brokers, Hyperlisks, and every other Zerg you can think of. Probably going to go Mutas a little bit later on as well for the fight. The real finish is up here in the top lane near the boss. And Team DC, they're going to try and bait this one out. They're going to start the boss, Bobgoat now on that Anubarak.
On the Lunara.
No mana, no mana on the Lunara. Grumpshot has plenty of that though. The Gorges come out. Actaman's got one. Ancestral healing just in the nick of time. That's huge. Another Ring of Frost is not going to go anywhere. The leaping Lunara's not going to go anywhere. Ring of Frost locking it into place. And Onyx Esports have lost two. They lose Lunara, they lose Stitches, and now they lose Uther. Team DC have got the power train rolling.
Yeah, and just a great fight coming out of Team DC. They were dancing around the point, just trying to bait in Onyx, and when they saw the opportunity, they pulled the trigger and they made it work. They picked up the very important members, and with that, Zagara trying to deal with waves elsewhere on the map, there was just not really enough pressure coming out from the Onyx DPS that Team DC were allowed to go forward so far. And sure, there was a nice gorge, and they almost took down the Nubarak, but a great ancestral heal, and they were just able to turn that fight around. They're able to grab that boss on the top side, apply a lot more pressure on the top side of the map, and they can at least get this next tribute and stave off any potential curse just yet.
Ancestral was A1 coming out there from the grid. Supreme stuff from the man there on the Rhaegar. But the tribute now going over in favour of Team DC quite comfortably. Onyx Esports, they take the siege camp in the bot lane, so they're continuing that lane pressure. There's a nice soak for Team DC in the bot lane if they decide to go down there. I think Nihao's going to go down there and just lap that one all up. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Bobgoat trying to take down this tower with the hand help of the grid. But Happy Chap is there, didn't get it in the end, but Bobgoat's taken on quite down. Here comes Aquaman once, and it's all over. Manages to burrow away just in the nick of time. The Frost Storms are coming out there from Jaina and able to get a good wave clear off, but regardless, they're in control here. They're now at a talent tier advantage. Phoenix, level 16 versus level 14, 1 tribute versus 2, and Onyx Esports, Grumpshot's mob, have been stuck on 2 tributes since Tribute 3. I mean, Team DC reverse sweep the tributes last time, and now they're continuing to control this map. The leap goes in, Sonya gets gorged, and the Onyx Esports lads are forced to retreat. The Cocoon onto Stitches with somebody in his belly. Nihao taking a fair bit of damage as well. Another good Ancestral's going to come out and save him. Wid is on fire. The Ring of Frost catches everybody. All 5 members of Onyx Esports have been caught in the icy trap of death. And Team DC, they only got 1 kill. But regardless, their plays are amazing tonight.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of these plays start because of that Ring of Frost. Space Phoenix, I was saying at the start, we've seen him play it over the course of the past couple of seasons and showed a bit of a proficiency on the hero. We're really seeing that now, really setting up a lot of the plays for his team. And the follow-up from the Sonya, from the Anubarak, has been very, very good. And the amount of damage coming out of this lineup, sure, the numbers aren't looking as big as they are on the side of Onyx, but they're getting enough down that they're able to clean up those members, at least getting that front line down, because as you mentioned, once that Stitches is down, there's not really any front line on the side of Onyx that they can't really walk forward in these fights.
Jaina's wave clear is fantastic. Lifted is finding so much value. The engages, the team fights are even better. The Ring of Frost, I don't think there's been one where they found at least 2 targets every single time. And Gwyd's Rhaegar, 2 Ancestrals in a row now to save a Nubarak from certain death. Onyx Esports really need to focus their attention off the main tank and onto that backline, onto the Jaina, onto the Rhaegar, and onto the Greymane if they're going to succeed in these team fights.
Yeah, we're starting to see them group up. Great cocktail takes Grumpshot down very low, but enough healing is coming out, so we are seeing Onyx. They do have the tools to get these fights going, and should they start to get at least one of those kills in the right position, we can start to see Grumpshot start just reset over and over and really just snowball these team fights. But we're just not really seeing that. Once they do get the kill, they've already lost too much, they've already used too much, and they can't keep the fight going. But we'll have to see if they can actually turn it around as we get later into this game. They are on even talent tiers at least.
Actaman has actually opted for the slam build as opposed to the fishing build, but look how deep the Onyx Esports as the Team DC lads are. There's a Ring of Frost, catches 2 this time. Uther's going to get cocooned just in the nick of time. Actaman has fallen on the bench, as has Lunara. Poor old Li Ming joins him. Bloodspiller's going to go down, and this is getting dirty now for Team DC. A full team wipe in the bot lane. They are going to get an almighty push going down there. They're going to get at least a keep. They're not going to have enough time to go for the core at this stage, but they could potentially take down 1, maybe 2 here.
Yeah, most definitely 1. To be honest, I would be surprised if they just push forward for the core, but in these fights, we're talking about it as level 10 hit, or even talking about it in the draft. The Disintegrate could have been so good against that Cocoon. We're seeing the Cocoon get so much value because we are seeing a Wave of Force, and because it's going on the right target at the right time. That Uther not being in the fight is absolutely tearing Onyx apart. They are going for the core, but this could be very risky.
It is extremely risky. Nihao is the only one up there in the front line at the moment. Lucky to get the pull away as Sonya. Going for the mystical spear. Nubarak has fallen in the meantime, so they went extremely deep. Go for it was the call coming out from Gwyd on the Rhaegar. The shot caller gets a spear away again. So Onyx Esports, this is where they can turn the tides. They're at an even talent tier at the moment. Level 20 still yet to be hit by Team DC. The Ring of Frost is all collected. Oh, they only collected 1 there. Bloodspiller lucky not enough not to be caught in that one, but it was a stall Ring of Frost, not an engage, and the Team DC lads slipped up a little bit there, but it's not all bad. They were able to recoup, only losing 1. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, and with the minions pushing in the mid lane, they do get a second keep. Looks like they could even get the top one as well. So it looks like the minions will be able to clean that one up. But it's going to be a very risky play. They need to get back in quick, or as Stitches gets demolished. This could be very, very hairy.
Oh, the throw pit. Oh, another Ancestral coming out, this time onto Nihao. Sonya spinning to winning like a Beyblade on G's TV back in the 90s, and they're going to steal the boss. Onyx Esports, they have turned the tide of this game. Sorry, it was Team DC. Regardless,
it looked like it was going to go okay for Onyx. It looked like they were in a pretty good position. We started to see Grumpshot almost get those resets going, but got completely shut down. They needed to find some way back into the game, but just took it a step too far. Level 20 was just a little bit too much from Team DC. They were able to take the fight. They will be able to take this game, and wow, it was a very narrow window that Onyx could have had to get back into this game. They tried to make the most of it. It just wasn't enough, and that is going to be it.
Huge from Team DC. Onyx looked like they were coming back so hard. But the Ancestral heals that were coming out from Gwyd, the Ring of Frost that were coming out from Jaina, I mean, every single player on the team of Team DC executed their desired role to perfection. I mean, I didn't see bad plays from anybody. Nihao on the Sonya was all up in the faces, spinning around, getting those heals, and look how even the experience is for this team.
Yeah, it just shows that they were all they played as a team, just grouping up and pushing those fights, and that's essentially what we saw get them the win. They were very successful in taking the fights that they wanted, locking down those key targets, and then just taking objectives from that. As we saw, the first 2 tributes went over to the side of Onyx, but from there was not really much that they could do to get back on the map, and Team DC controlled the map, they controlled the fights, and then they just controlled the rest of the game.
the Onyx Esports lads drafted so well, but I think their talent choices, especially that wave of force, might have cost them in the end there. Like, the Cocoon, we talked about the mind games that would have been played. Would they force an Uberak to pick Locust Swarm as opposed to the Cocoon? In the end, he did go for Cocoon, and Grumshot went for Wave of Force. Disintegrate could have changed the tide of so many of those fights, and I feel like they were a little bit robbed there, just when you thought they were coming back. I mean, the hype was there, but Team DC, like we mentioned, the Ancestrals, the Frost Rings, and Sonya being an absolute pest were just too strong in the end. So, GLP, final thoughts on the game?
Well, it was quite even from 1 through to 10, but as we started to see those heroics come in, DC just played it so well. Feels like they got off a little bit easy thanks to that wave of force, not really punishing that Cocoon as much as possible. But that was really well played. Sure, you got to throw out those Cocoons onto the right targets at the right time, and we saw it time and time again. Really got to give it to Team DC. They really played that out really well.
So once again, congratulations to Team DC. That was the fourth and potentially final round of the night, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to wait for the other rounds to finish, and if there is a tiebreaker, we're going to be doing some number crunching. So we'll actually do the number crunching during the break. That's what we pay prices for.
Hey, we don't actually need to go to a break, Kid Fox. So while that match was going on, all of the other matches completed, and it turned out that match was a play. The team that played, that won it, was going to be the fourth and final team that made it through to the playoffs. So I've got on the screen for you now the final standings for you tonight, and that top four that you see right now, they are the ones that are going to be going through. So we've got NMD with a 4-0, Mad Because Bad coming in at 3-1, Team DC on 3-1, and Capital on 3-1 as well. So a couple of things to note there. NMD have done what they have needed to do. So they got knocked out of the playoffs. They are fighting for that fourth spot in the finals, in the overall standings across the entire season. So they've taken step number one that they needed to take. Step number two, of course, is to win both of their matches in the lower bracket of the playoffs next week. But congratulations then to NMD, Mad Because Bad, Team DC, and Capital, who are the four final teams to qualify for playoffs in Season 4. So next week, ladies and gentlemen, on Tuesday night, we'll be bringing you from 7:30 here on GameStar TV the final round of playoffs, where we will have 8 teams fighting for the last few points that they can earn in their bids to qualify for the finals that will be taking place live at LAN on the 30th of September. All 4 teams that make it through at the end of the qualifiers are going through to that LAN event. So a fantastic event getting put together by Blizzard ANZ, and we are very, very happy with the state of Heroes of the Storm Esports in Oceania that we are at this point where 4 teams are going through. So a trip to Sydney for anybody who's not in Sydney already, it's a fantastic situation. Now, we got one more thing that we need to do, and I'll head on over to my robot here and press some buttons, because we've got that final giveaway to do. And here we go. I'm going to hit the close button. And Fat94 is the winner of that raffle. So congratulations, Fat94. And not only, I think Fat94 might be streaming. So at the end of the broadcast tonight, we're going to head on over and give him a /host as well. So you can see some high-level play from one of the top players in the ANZ region. Well, that's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for our 4 rounds tonight. And it will be fantastic to have you right back here on Tuesday next week for the final playoff round of the season. If you're keen to catch more esports action from GameStar, we're going to be bringing the Paladins Phase 2, Week 1, semi-finals and finals to facebook.com/Paladins game tomorrow night, same time, 7:30. So tune in for that as well. That should be good fun. And then on Sunday, if you're into Injustice 2, you can come and play, or you can just come and watch our Injusta circuit event that's going to be happening on a Sunday. So check out GameStar.com for details of those competitions. But for now, from the team here at GameStar, it's been fantastic having you in. It's been wonderful to bring you some fantastic esports as well. And I'm going to say fantastic one more time and then sign out. Good night,
Go for
everyone.
Vandy.